Pay any attention to me at all, probably know what my profile picture looks like. This is an original drawing from 2021, and I doodled it in about 5 minutes. It's also probably the greatest piece of art I've ever made. Now take a look at this character, and maybe you see where I'm going with this. Angels with Scaly Wings is a niche visual novel released in 2017, and the first visual novel I ever played. I have no idea how I was exposed to this game in the first place, but I seem to remember it was pretty good when I was like 14. Unfortunately, I last played in 2019, so I don't remember too much, and I don't have any gameplay to show. But I also can't really be bothered to go back and replay it again, so I'll mostly be retelling the fuzzy details as I best remember them. Spoiler alert, by the way, I doubt any of you will play any of these two games I mentioned here, but this video contains minor-ish spoilers for both games. The game is marketed as a dragon dating sim, and some people are more normal about it than others. But just stopping at the description would be underselling it. This game has a plot, and it's an equally driving force. Part of what makes the plot so compelling is the overarching time loop that connects every single playthrough. The main plot goes like this. The human world needs energy generators from the dragon world, so you and this guy, who's evil by the way, go to pick up some generators. But uh-oh, the other guy, who's evil by the way, decides to murder some innocent civilians, which causes a diplomatic fallout and jeopardizes everyone's safety. So, about those dragons you wanted to date? Reconsider. 5 main characters means there's 5 subplots, and going on dates with each character lets you reach their bad ending at the first time, or their good ending after at least one playthrough. Each of these subplots gives you more insight into the time travel plot, and once you've completed everything, you get the game's final true ending. This is a visual novel where 100% completion of the game is the canon route, which 14-year-old me thought was very unique. Actually, even 21-year-old me still thinks it's unique. Something to add though. When I said good ending, that was just what the game calls them. They aren't actually happy endings. Like, Anna still dies of cancer in a good ending, which is almost worse than any other ending not involving her. On that note, something that Angels with Scaly Wings does very boldly is that it kills the main characters a lot. As a dating sim type of game, it makes sense how the characters of the main appeal, and they are fantastic. I could go into detail, but I feel like this image sets up a Dean. She's very silly, her scenes are funny, and she's an ambitious dragon. But if you don't pay attention to her in her first playthrough, she also dies. Characters need to be well written for their deaths to be impactful, so as a dating sim, this kind of works. So that was 2018, when I played my first visual novel. It has compelling characters with interesting subplots, replay value because some 11 distinct endings, and an overarching subplot that ties together every single story and pushes you toward the true ending. After completing 100% of the game, I felt a little empty. You probably felt this about something before. You're sad that it's over, that the characters' stories have ended, and there was no way to re-experience it for the first time again. And there's a name for this phenomenon, by the way. Here's the abstract. It's funny because this game was originally marketed as a dating sim, and I didn't take it that seriously at first. But by the end, I was totally invested in these dragons and their stupid problems. And personally, this visual novel convinced me to be a better writer, so in more ways than one, it's the reason this script is being written at all. Because this is a relative first for me, and also since I was only 14, this kind of thing was practically life-changing. Come today, I decided to get into some more visual novels. Project Moon has some fantastic games, mostly because of the stories, and with the 80,000 plus word count of just one Canto and Libus company, I really was going back to an era of just reading for fun. So I recently found this. I will not speak its name, but I will speak its price tag. Free. Featuring royalty-free music by Kevin MacLeod. This game isn't as innocent as the first. I mean, it's literally marketed as 18 plus. But something I learned from 2018 is that you should never judge a book by its cover. You should judge it by its Steam reviews. I've got to act like I got this game for the plot because I did. I thought the comedy would be a priority over the mature content, and generally speaking, yeah, that was the case. But I felt that the royalty-free music in these scenes is really funny, at least for my sense of humor. Like, gooning is already free, but the royalty-free music means you're getting something you probably otherwise would have paid for, so that's pretty cool. Here's the cat. featuring royalty-free music in the Cloud. Tonally, this game is a huge shift from Angel of Scaly Wings. It's more slice of life and comedy, which gives you plausible deniability when someone asks why this game is in your Steam library. The plot is clearly inspired by Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, so if you know anything about that, great. If not, Cynthia, the protagonist, is a catgirl that gets transported to the human world. She offers to work as a maid because that's what makes sense to her and her society. However, since she doesn't know how to use modern technology, and is also a cat, slice of life comedy comes from watching her learn about these things. There's also a subplot involving another catgirl, Madeline, trying to bring Cynthia back to their home in the alternate world. Madeline also ends up being a great character. I have more to say about her. Stay tuned. Compared to Angel of Scaly Wings, this game really needs its characters to shine in order to make an impact. Unlike the former, this game doesn't have the same compelling plot elements, and there are many times where the antics of Cynthia and Madeline are the only thing on screen. Angel of Scaly Wings does fantastic characters, so do the catgirls measure up? Honestly, not quite. Cynthia as a protagonist is decent enough for the genre, but not as interesting as the dragons. The absurdity of the game's marketing gimmick, which is obviously the title, basically requires there's a gigantic suspension of disbelief in order for her to be put in her position as the catgirl maid. In the modern IRL sense, offering to be a traditional maid is very, very questionable, and an almost inexcusable plot point, at least had it not been for some plot magic the game eventually pulls out. Furthermore, since she is this specific type of character, her tropes are fairly predictable. The first chapter involves her using the internet for the first time, so you can probably imagine what happened. And you would be right. Despite being overshadowed by her archetype, Cynthia is still a decent character. She faces basic everyday problems with a larger-than-life, positive attitude, and has unique personality traits that make you wonder about the world she came from. For example, in chapters where she interacts with vendors at the market, her character displays more depth, albeit not significantly. But better is when the story reaches its literary climax. Cynthia faces the dilemma in choosing whether to return to her duties in her previous world, or to hold on to the relationship she has in her new life. The way she's affected by this dilemma is quite serious, and has you, as a player, empathize with her. In hindsight, this is actually a pretty heavy topic for a game that is branded as comedy. I remember being a little sad about it when I read it for the first time as well, and it was probably the most emotion I felt throughout the entire game's runtime. Granted, that runtime was only 7 hours. Okay, with the main plot out of the way, now we can talk about Madeline. In my opinion, this is where the game makes a lot more sense. She also might be one of my favorite side characters of all time. When Madeline first meets a player character, she questions them for hiring her maid, which is, understandably, pretty degrading. But because Cynthia was the one who insisted on playing the role, the player is found mostly innocent. I mean, it would be a little unfair if the player was considered immoral for not being able to control plot elements used strictly for the game's marketing. Okay, maybe not entirely innocent. But what Madeline brings to this game is a different perspective. A grounded one, subverting the maid theme, absence of the 18+ side of the game. While Cynthia is a character designed for an archetype, Madeline is a character designed for the genre. She is still a sort of comedy character, but her characterization is much more natural because of it. This is also reflected in the humor. Cynthia's gags come from her role, while Madeline's gags come from the character she was written as. While I wasn't a huge fan of Cynthia's humor, this does mean that Madeline's gags are actually pretty funny. Also, this is totally a spoiler for the end of the game, but Madeline also ends up looking like this. There's something I like about clumsy characters being able to get serious, and Madeline is an impressive example of this, where her personality remains consistent between both sides to her. Also, she looks really cool, just thought I'd add that. Having another deeper side to their character is something that Madeline does, but Cynthia doesn't do, or not very well at least. I guess all of this is to say that not being a maid let Madeline's character shine, so maids are a bad archetype of writing. Or maybe that I wish this game was more about Madeline, since she's actually pretty funny. Or maybe that I'm writing a literary analysis on a rom-com and I should probably stop. Wait, there's a DLC featuring 20,000 words about Madeline? Anyway, in conclusion. It's a bit crazy to put it like this, but visual novels kinda changed my life. Despite all of this, I'm actually not much of a reader at all, and visual novels didn't change that. I don't think I've even touched a physical book since 2023. But games like these gave me a whole new perspective on the point of a story and how you can tell it. Whether it's blending gameplay mechanics into immersion, or minimizing the formula to show off good characters. These are pieces of art made only by a few people, and there's a lot to appreciate about them. Angels with Scaly Wings is a story that uses its own medium, being a visual novel, as a plot device. This mixture of gameplay and story creates a sense of immersion that's not easily broken. Every character is thoughtful, and when replaying the game when you're weighted 100%, you always see something new even when you don't expect it. It's a unique experience from start to finish and to full completion. MCMTS-RTP is a raw, unfiltered vision of a genre written for low-stakes enjoyment. It takes its inspiration from Dragon Maid, but there are many things it doesn't follow. The resulting experience is more wholesome and grounded, contrary to the inspiration material and the 18+ tag. Also, the low-budget production hardly hinders the creativity, and arguably, it's even more genuine when there are less layers of polish. That's so much of a story's essence remains even despite a change in the medium or the flashiness of its cover is really inspiring to me, and part of why I take writing really seriously. And especially important are the characters you use to tell that story. Favorite characters are lessons and inspirations that stick with people for a very long time. So I suppose the moral of this video essay is that art is subjective, and great stories come from any. Catgirls and girl dragons are really key. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. I've heard that telling people to subscribe usually works, and since I put it at the end of the video, there's